Up next in the broadcast, lawmakers today released another revision to the nation's tax code after the first one sparked accusations of unfairly hitting the working and middle classes. Korea's Health and Welfare Ministry raised its death toll from this season's hot weather to at least 10 people. A heat advisory and heat warning for most parts of the country were also issued. For the first time since the new administration, South Korean civic groups have been granted access to check on their distribution of charitable aid to North Korea. Primetime News begins now.
Good evening and welcome to Primetime News. It's Tuesday, August 13th here in Korea. Live from Seoul, I'm Yoo Ji-hye.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thank you so much for joining us. We begin with the current national debate over taxes and who should pay more. Today's revision to the tax code leaves those making under $50,000 a year safe from tax hikes.
This comes amid public backlash that criticized a tax code proposal announced last week. Our Kim Hyun-ji has more on the latest in Korea's tax overhaul.
The ruling Saenuri Party rounded up its lawmakers on Tuesday to discuss how the Park Geun-hye administration should rewrite the tax code. Finance Minister Hyun Oh-seok also attended the meeting. The government released a tax code revision plan last week, only to scrap it and start the process over again from scratch this week. The government's initial proposal drew heavy criticism from the opposition party and workers, who said the plan favored the rich and large businesses. At the meeting of lawmakers, the ruling party's floor leader Choi Kyung-hwan apologized on behalf of his party for failing to live up to people's expectations.
We requested that the government rewrite the tax code in order to reduce the burden on low-income households, while keeping it unchanged for the middle class through income tax deductions. We also asked the government to toughen taxation on high-income professionals and the self-employed, whose incomes have not been transparently exposed.
The tax code proposal that was made last Thursday would have increased taxes on some 4.3 million salaried workers with an annual income of more than $31,000. But the government and the ruling party are now looking into increasing taxes on workers earning more than $49,000 a year. If the baseline gets adjusted as such, some 2.1 million workers will foot a bigger tax bill. That's about 2.2 million people less than the government's initial tax plan would have affected. The adjustment would also mean tax revenues falling by about $390 million. To make up for such a revenue shortfall, the government is now looking into ways to prevent tax evasions committed by high-income earners while avoiding additional taxes on large firms or individuals in a higher tax bracket. But the opposition party wants the government to retract tax cuts on the rich altogether. Kim Hyun-ji, Arirang News.
For the first time since President Park Geun-hye took office in February, South Korean civic groups have been given the green light to enter North Korea to oversee the distribution of aid supplies.
The approval comes as the two Koreas will hold their 7th round of talks on Wednesday with the aim of normalizing operations at the joint Kaesong Industrial Zone. Our Unification Ministry correspondent Hwang Sung-hee has more.
Two South Korean civic groups will visit North Korea on Saturday to monitor the distribution of their aid supplies. The trip, approved by Seoul's Unification Ministry on Tuesday, will be the first approved visit of a civilian group to the north since President Park Geun-hye took office in February. A total of 18 South Koreans will fly into Pyongyang from China on Wednesday and begin their inspection with North Korean officials over a 4-day period. The two aid groups will oversee the distribution of around $330,000 worth of medicine and other supplies to North Korean children. Meanwhile, the two Koreas will meet for their 7th round of talks on Wednesday in Kaesong as they try to reopen their jointly run factory zone in the north. Operations at the Kaesong Industrial Complex came to a halt after North Korea withdrew all of its workers in April amid an escalation in inter-Korean tensions. The shutdown has resulted in nearly $1 billion in losses for South Korean businesses with operations in Kaesong. Seoul wants a guarantee that Pyongyang will never push ahead with such unilateral closures again before reopening the complex, while North Korea has been pushing for an immediate resumption of operations. Experts are expecting the two Koreas to make some progress in Wednesday's talks, as it is their first meeting in weeks. If they fail to reach an agreement this time around, some say the upcoming joint military drill between Seoul and Washington next week may break any momentum gained in dialogue. Hwang Sung-hee, Arirang News.
Top nuclear envoys of South Korea and Russia will meet in Moscow on Wednesday for talks that will center around North Korea.
Seoul's foreign ministry said South Korea's Cho Tae-yong and his Russian counterpart Igor Mogilov will discuss the security situation on the Korean peninsula and ways to resume the long-stalled six-party denuclearization talks. The multilateral dialogue involving the two Koreas, the U.S., China, Japan, and Russia have been at a standstill since late 2008. Despite only taking the post in May, Cho has already met with his counterparts from other six-party member nations to discuss ways to deal with Pyongyang's nuclear ambitions.
Taking you down now to Korea's southernmost city of Koje. President Park Geun-hye attended the launch ceremony of a Korean-built submarine on this Tuesday.
She used the occasion to send a strong message to South Korea's neighbors to the north and to the east. Our presidential office correspondent Oh Jun-ju has the details.
President Park made it clear that South Korea will never tolerate any attempt by foreign forces to hurt its national interest and sovereignty over its territorial waters. Speaking at the launch ceremony of the fourth South Korean-built submarine on Tuesday, President Park emphasized the importance of strong defense capability.
튼튼한 해상 방위 능력이 있어야만 어업도 수출길도 국민의 안전도 지켜낼 수 있다는 것을 우리는 역사에서 확인했습니다.
She also expressed her respect to the young soldiers who had sacrificed their lives to protect the northern limit line, the de facto maritime border between the two Koreas, saying they made it possible for the country to secure peace on the West Sea. Political pundits say President Park's remarks demonstrate her firm determination to protect the NLL from North Korea and the easternmost Dokdo Islets from Japan. In particular, with the country's Liberation Day coming up this week, experts speculate that the president was sending an indirect warning to Japan that Seoul will not let them get away with any provocations over Dokdo. It's worth noting that the submarine launched on Tuesday is named after South Korea's independence activist Kim Ja-jin, who led a winning battle against the Japanese army in 1920. Furthermore, experts say President Park's comments about the NLL fall in line with her call to the ruling and opposition parties last month to make their determination to protect the NLL clear to the public instead of continuing their fight over the issue. The NLL has become an increasingly controversial matter in the political arena after the ruling Saenuri Party claimed former President Roh Moo-hyun suggested giving up the NLL during the 2007 Inter-Korean Summit. Oh Jun-ju, Arirang News.
The 12 Korean women used as sex slaves for the Japanese military during World War II applied for a mediation in the local court on Tuesday before launching a compensation claim against the Japanese government. This marks the first time that a lawsuit of its kind has ever been filed in Korea. It would allow the women to officially file a compensation suit if the Japanese government refuses to comply with the court's mediation plan. The 12 women are asking for around $1 million each.
Here's a welcome sign that the nation may be headed towards recovery in the second half of the year. Over 50% of Korea's listed companies reported better than expected second quarter sales. Arirang's Hwang Ji-hye reports on the signals pointing to more promising times.
The slumping economy at home and abroad had tamped down expectations for Korean businesses in the second quarter, but it appears that some not only met those expectations but exceeded them. According to an online financial information provider, FN Guide, 50 out of 93 listed companies that have announced their operating profits for the second quarter of this year reported profits higher than the market consensus. Among those 50 companies, more than 30 of them reported quarterly profits that were more than 5% higher than analysts' expectations. Korea's leading power equipment maker Tusan Heavy Industries and Construction Corporation, for example, reported profits of over $280 million, far exceeding the market expectation of $160 million. Many other global companies like Kia Motors and LG Display also reported better than expected operating profits. Experts say the business showings are the result of the market's low expectations. A number of listed companies reported lower than expected earnings shock results a quarter earlier, posing a burden to the nation's stock market. Experts add that the recovery observed in major economies like the United States and Japan also boosted the company's quarterly profits. But there are looming concerns over mounting hopes of recovery in the second half of this year, as companies that haven't reported their quarterly sales are likely to show results below expectations. Experts say companies tend to delay the release of their sales reports when results turn out bad. Hwang Jie, Arirang News.
Korea continues to battle through one of its hottest heat waves in recent memory, with the mercury surging towards record-high territories across the country. The scorching heat has claimed the lives of 10 people in recent months, and the government is struggling to deal with an ongoing power crisis. Our Paul Yi reports on the dangerous heat spell.
A record-breaking heat wave is taking hold of the nation, with the Korea Meteorological Administration issuing heat wave advisories in Seoul and other metropolitan cities. Heat advisories are issued when areas experience temperatures of 33 degrees or higher for 2 consecutive days. Temperatures in some places were much higher. A record high of 39.2 degrees Celsius was recorded in Gimhae, located near the southern port city of Busan. The health ministry is asking the public to refrain from outdoor activities and to keep hydrated, as the rising heat has killed now 10 people since June. 5 of those fatalities came on Sunday and Monday alone. Last year, some 14 Koreans died in a similar prolonged heat wave. But it's not the only crisis that the government is dealing with, as the nation is facing severe power shortages. Power reserves have been extremely tight as a result of higher energy consumption, and with more than half a dozen power reactors having been forced offline due to maintenance or other safety concerns. On Tuesday, the Korea Power Exchange issued a level 1 power warning as reserve levels fell below 5 million kilowatts. Officials have urged all public and private sectors to refrain from using air conditioning, among other energy-conserving measures. Emergency power regulations are now in effect, with electricity authorities attempting to shore up extra reserve power through private generators. Korea's National Weather Agency forecasts that the heat wave will last through August 20th, when a low-pressure front is expected to bring heavy rain to the peninsula. The refreshing showers, however, will likely provide a short respite from the high temperatures, as mid to late September is expected to be the hottest in recent years. Paul Gi, Arirang News.
If you hadn't noticed, the digital age has certainly changed the way all of us live, and the business world is no exception. Companies have always had to evolve with the times, and now more than ever, business models need to be integrated into the digital era.
And the next big thing may just be something called big data. To tell us more about this new frontier for innovation, competition, and productivity, we have our Kim Ji-yeon live in the studio. Ji-yeon, hello.
Hi.
So tell us more about this big data. What is it?
It refers to a collection of data that is so large and diverse that it's impossible to process using traditional tools. Google is the best example. It relies on data from its search engine, and whenever you search for something on a website, Google is collecting data about your behavior, like search histories, demographics, and locations. The tracks you leave behind can be valuable when combined with the behavior of millions of other people. It may show a trend, providing a new market or investment idea for companies that are willing and able to respond.
Well, information collection to gain customer insight has been around before big data, so what makes this different now?
The traditional ways of collecting data has been has come after a product has been sold. So like records of sales, profiles of consumers, and so on. But big data is all encompassing. It includes the contents of people's smartphones, what they click on, or what they're posting on Facebook and Twitter. While it took about a month using the traditional ways of data mining to get results, it only takes a couple of minutes to predict the consumer trends and needs with big data. So take a look at how big data is being used in Korea.
With the development of information and communications technology, companies in Korea are increasingly incorporating big data into their business operations. The application of big data to business is still in its initial stages in Korea, but it's expected to broaden the horizons of existing markets as well as lay the foundation for new ones that have yet to emerge. Take a look at a Korea-based analytics company that applies big data technology to real estate. 부동산 114 provides information to real estate agencies or to industries related to construction using its own formula created by big data. Having used big data for more than 6 years now, the company says it now has a comprehensive and systematic set of programs that can provide solutions to its customers.
With our solution package, you can check up on the market value of a property and its fluctuation rate in real time. The data we collect and analyze can help our customers make a wise business decision.
The company said it would have taken a month to do the same work with precision, but now it only takes a day using the big data technology to collect and analyze its database. This is significant since companies can quickly adapt to consumer needs and changes in the market. The primitive data that 부동산 114 and other analytics companies collect for analysis come from databases like GeoVision, provided by SK Telecom, a local telecommunications company. SK Telecom's GeoVision provides information about its subscribers by using location information provided by mobile service operators and payment information from credit card companies. The telecommunications company can then instantly identify purchase patterns in a business district of its 27 million cell phone users and categorize them according to the age of the user and the time of usage.
Now, Tian, is it absolutely necessary for companies to incorporate big data into their business?
I asked this question to a local expert on big data, and he compared it to the emergence of digital camera. And he told me that companies can still get by these days without big data, but at some time in the future, companies that have not consolidated the new technology into their business model may find themselves overtaken by rival companies.
Big data may change the landscape of how companies gather their information, just like how the digital camera forever changed photography. Companies that refuse to incorporate big data could one day become obsolete, much like Kodak, a centuries-old camera manufacturer that based its business solely on film and refused to go digital.
No one knows when exactly the big data phenomena will become mainstream in information gathering, but it seems like that the paradigm shift is inevitable.
So what are some of the challenges for companies or other entities who want to use big data?
First of all, Sean, that companies should have a specific goal when incorporating big data into their business. This means that they should try to identify a problem that they want to solve or a specific goal they want to achieve so that they know exactly what they're looking for when mining for data. A lot of companies first jump onto the bandwagon, but they often get lost without direction, and then they lose interest in the concept altogether. So keep in mind that it may take time and patience to make it work. Next, you have to find the right person to do the job. Your data analyst who is in charge of interpreting collected data should be knowledgeable about a wide range of fields, including statistics and psychology, but they should also understand the field they're working in or the company they're working for.
All right. Tian, thank you very much for that report.
Oh, it's my pleasure.
Before your day ends and another begins, get the latest news live from Seoul.
Residents whose features restrictions is on the rise.
Closing ceremony.
Expert analysis from Asia's heartbeat.
The legislature circumstances.
With a viewpoint only Korea's global network can provide.
The United States, the latest report, less than
Unrivaled access from a team always on standby.
Came on to Mueller trying to cover up the South's true intentions. The football fans here in the country are eagerly awaiting South Korea's friendly with Peru on Wednesday night, but manager Hong Myung-bo is already looking ahead. And we have Stephen Che in the Sports Center to tell us what he's got in mind. Stephen.
Hey, Sean. Hey, Jie. Manager Hong decided to field a team full of domestic league players for South Korea's friendly versus Peru, but he's looking to add European leaguers to the mix for future matches. Hong will travel to Germany on Friday to meet with Bundesliga stars Son Heung-min, Gu Ja-cheol, and Park Ju-ho. Out of the bunch, he's reportedly most interested in meeting with the Leverkusen's Son Heung-min, with plans to watch his team take on Stuttgart on the 17th. Hong hopes to entice the 21-year-old striker to play a larger role on the World Cup squad, which is in need of a stronger front line. Heading to the fairways, Chae Kyung-ju, better known as KJ Choi, is used to making history and being among the top names in the sport with his swing and his skills. And 2013 was no different for the Tank. This year, the 20-time winner was among 13 pro golfers who made the cut for all 4 majors this year, which include the Masters, US Open, British Open, and the PGA Championship. Overall, Chae had a respectable combined major score of 33 over par. And sliding home to Tuesday's KBO action, the first place Samsung Lions and the second place LG Twins faced off in Daegu. Both teams just 1 game apart in the standings. LG strikes first, but bottom of the first, Samsung strikes back. Park Han-hee and Lee Seung-yup bring home 2, Samsung 2-1. In the second, the Twins add 1, but back to the Lions. 2-run score before Lee Seung-yup hits home another, Lions 5-2. But LG surges back, 2 outs, bases loaded for Yoon Yo-sup, who hits the first ball he sees to start the rally. 3 runs later, Kwon Young-kwan hits a 3-run homer, LG up 9-5. The Twins are currently leading this one 14-9 at the top of the 9th. And looking at the scores from around the league, SK defeats Kia 9-2, Tucson over Lotte 3-2, and NC takes it over Hanwha 3-1. And that does it for me here in the Sports Center. This has been Stephen Che. Check back in after midnight for the latest in the world of sports.
Time to get the latest weather update with our Kwon So-ah. Hi there.
Hi guys. The heat is at its peak, but as you know, the energy reserves are definitely not. So people are advised to use alternatives.
Right, and you've been keeping cool in the studio with that traditional fan?
Yes, I have. And recent sales figures show that these types of fans are selling better than in previous years.
Right, and certainly would help with the energy crunch, but I doubt that it's enough to beat this type of heat.
Well, Sean, I have to agree with you on that. And that's why it's recommended to use the fan while the air conditioner is on to reduce the time that you use the AC. So let's take a closer look at what's causing this heat by going over to our satellite map here. Now, the hot air is blowing in from the southwest while the high pressure system in the North Pacific is moving upwards. So those 2 factors will lead to sweltering days for the rest of the week. Now, tomorrow we'll be waking up to a mainly sunny and already very warm morning due to another tropical night. Now, some places will be fairly cloudy at times later in the day, but that won't change the high temperatures. In fact, if we go over to our numbers here, Daegu and Gwangju will be exceeding the mid-30s, while Seoul and Busan reach 33 degrees. And the same goes for Jeju Island, while Daejeon hits 35 and Dokdo and Munkumgang will be a little cooler than that. Now, I hope you become fans of fans as the heat wave goes on, and hope to see you back after midnight.
Thank you, Soa. And that's a broadcast on this Tuesday night. I'm Yuji Hae in Seoul.
And I'm Sean Lim. Thanks for joining us. We'll see you soon.